They say walking is simple exercise, harmless, almost too easy to matter. But inside your body, every step you take triggers a cascade of hormonal signals, messages sent from muscles to glands, from fat cells to the brain, from the gut to the bloodstream. Most people don't feel it happening. There's no loud alarm, no dramatic shift on day one. But by day 14, your endocrine system, the network that controls hunger, energy, stress, sleep, and aging, has quietly begun to recalibrate. Not because walking is extreme, but because consistency is a language your hormones understand. What really happens when you walk daily for 2 weeks? Not motivation, not willpower, just biology. Let's begin. The first hormonal response. What the body releases within minutes of movement. Walking doesn't wait for permission. From the moment your legs begin to move rhythmically, your skeletal muscles contract. This contraction doesn't just burn fuel, it secretes molecules called myokines, chemical messengers that travel through the bloodstream and communicate with distant organs. Within the first 10 minutes, your pancreas begins to adjust insulin secretion. Insulin is the hormone responsible for shuttling glucose from your blood into cells. During a walk, your muscles become more insulin sensitive, meaning they require less insulin to absorb the same amount of glucose. This is not a long-term adaptation yet. It's an immediate metabolic response. At the same time, your adrenal glands release a small, controlled amount of cortisol and adrenaline. These are not stress hormones in this context. They are energy mobilizers. They signal your liver to release stored glucose and your fat cells to break down triglycerides into usable fuel. Your heart rate increases slightly, blood flow accelerates, oxygen delivery improves, and in the background, your hypothalamus, a pea-sized region in your brain, begins to register the activity. It doesn't react dramatically, it simply notes, movement has occurred. This is the opening signal. The body is listening. Insulin sensitivity begins to shift. How muscles learn to handle sugar more efficiently. By day 3 or 4, something subtle begins to change in your muscle cells. They start to produce more GLUT4 transporters, proteins that sit on the cell surface and pull glucose inside. The more you walk, the more transporters your muscles build. This is critical because insulin resistance, the inability of cells to respond to insulin, is one of the most common metabolic disruptions in modern life. It leads to elevated blood sugar, fat storage around the organs, and long-term damage to blood vessels. Walking reverses this trend, not through intensity, but through repetition. Each walk creates a small demand for glucose. Your muscles deplete their glycogen stores slightly. The body interprets this as a signal. We need to be better at refueling. Your pancreas begins to produce less insulin overall because your cells require less of it to do the same job. This is called improved insulin sensitivity, and it happens silently. You won't feel it, but your liver, pancreas, and fat cells will operate more efficiently. By day 7, fasting blood sugar levels often begin to stabilize. Postprandial glucose spikes, the sharp rises after meals, start to flatten. The body is learning to manage fuel more smoothly. This is not a cure, but it is a recalibration. Cortisol patterns start to regulate. What happens when stress hormones find rhythm again? Cortisol is often misunderstood. It is not inherently harmful. It is your body's primary stress hormone, yes, but also your wake-up hormone, your anti-inflammatory agent, and your blood sugar regulator. The problem arises when cortisol loses its natural rhythm. In a healthy system, cortisol peaks in the early morning and declines throughout the day. But chronic stress, poor sleep, and inactivity flatten this curve. Cortisol stays elevated at night. It drops too low in the morning. The body loses its daily reset. The walking, especially in the morning or early evening, helps restore this rhythm. Not because it eliminates stress, but because it provides a predictable, low-grade physical stimulus. Your adrenal glands begin to associate movement with controlled energy release, not panic. By day 10, many people experience a subtle shift. They wake feeling slightly more alert. They sleep slightly deeper. Their energy doesn't crash as hard in the afternoon. This is cortisol recalibrating. The body is learning to pulse stress hormones appropriately again, rather than leaking them continuously. Your HPA axis, the communication loop between your hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and adrenal glands begins to stabilize. This axis controls not just cortisol, but dozens of downstream hormones that influence mood, digestion, immunity, and reproduction. And walking doesn't fix the axis, but it gives it structure. Appetite hormones begin to communicate clearly. How leptin and ghrelin start to sync with reality. Leptin is your satiety hormone. It is produced by fat cells and tells your brain, you have enough energy stored. Stop eating. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone. It is produced by your stomach and signals, you need fuel. In a well-functioning body, these two hormones work in opposition. But in sedentary, overfed, or sleep-deprived individuals, this system becomes distorted. Leptin levels rise, but the brain stops listening, a condition called leptin resistance. Ghrelin stays elevated even after meals. Hunger becomes constant. Fullness becomes rare. Walking helps reset this communication, not by burning large amounts of calories, but by improving leptin sensitivity in the hypothalamus, where physical activity enhances the receptor response. The brain begins to hear the signal again. By day 12, many people notice they feel full sooner. Cravings for high-sugar foods diminish slightly. Late-night hunger becomes less urgent. This is not willpower. This is hormonal clarity. Ghrelin also begins to pulse more predictably, rising before meals, falling after. The stomach and brain re-establish their timing. The body begins to trust its own signals again. This process is fragile. 2 weeks is not enough to fully restore leptin sensitivity in someone with metabolic dysfunction, but it is enough to begin the conversation between fat, brain, and gut. How the thyroid and metabolic hormones respond. How T3 and metabolic rate subtly adjust. Your thyroid gland produces hormones that control your metabolic rate, the speed at which your cells convert fuel into energy. The most active form is called T3 triiodothyronine. When T3 levels are optimal, you feel warm, energized, and mentally clear. When they drop, metabolism slows. You feel cold, sluggish, and foggy. Chronic inactivity can suppress T3 conversion, especially in the liver. The body interprets prolonged stillness as a signal to conserve energy. Metabolism downshifts. Walking reverses this signal. It tells the body, we are active, we need energy. The liver begins to convert more T4, the inactive thyroid hormone, into T3. Metabolic rate increases slightly, not dramatically, but measurably. By day 14, some individuals notice they feel warmer, especially in their extremities. Digestion may improve. Mental clarity sharpens slightly. This is not fat loss. This is metabolic activation. Additionally, irisin, a hormone released by muscles during movement, has been shown to convert white fat cells, storage, into beige fat cells, energy burning. This process is slow, but it begins within the first 2 weeks of consistent activity. Your thyroid is not healing, but it is being supported. Sex hormones and reproductive health adjust. How estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone respond to movement. Sex hormones are not just about reproduction. They influence bone density, muscle mass, mood stability, skin health, and cardiovascular function. In sedentary individuals, especially those with excess visceral fat, sex hormone balance is often disrupted, or estrogen can become dominant in both men and women due to aromatase activity in fat tissue, which converts testosterone into estrogen. Testosterone levels may drop. Progesterone may fluctuate. Walking helps restore balance, not by directly altering hormone production, but by reducing visceral fat and improving insulin sensitivity. 2 factors that heavily influence sex hormone metabolism. By day 14, some men notice slight improvements in energy and libido. Some women notice more regular menstrual cycles or reduced PMS symptoms. This is not a cure for hormonal disorders, but it is a supportive signal. The body begins to allocate resources more evenly when it senses consistent, low-stress movement. Additionally, walking reduces chronic low-grade inflammation, which interferes with hormone receptor sensitivity. And when inflammation decreases, hormones communicate more effectively with their target tissues. The endocrine system is deeply interconnected. A shift in one hormone influences the others. Walking creates a stabilizing ripple. Growth hormone and cellular repair increase. What happens during sleep after daily movement? Growth hormone, GH, is released primarily during deep sleep. It is responsible for tissue repair, muscle maintenance, fat metabolism, and cellular regeneration. As we age, GH secretion declines. But physical activity, especially consistent, moderate movement, can help preserve it. Walking doesn't spike growth hormone the way high-intensity exercise does, but it improves sleep architecture, particularly slow-wave sleep, the phase in which GH is released. By day 14, many people report deeper sleep. They wake less frequently, and their body feels more recovered. This is growth hormone doing its job. At the same time, walking stimulates autophagy, a cellular cleanup process in which damaged proteins and organelles are broken down and recycled. This process is enhanced during fasting and movement. It is one of the body's primary anti-aging mechanisms. Your cells are not just surviving, they are maintaining themselves. 14 days of walking does not transform the body, but it does awaken it. Hormones do not shout. They whisper. They adjust. They recalibrate in the background, restoring rhythm to systems that have been running on override. Insulin becomes more efficient. Cortisol finds its pulse. Appetite signals clarify. Thyroid function stabilizes. Sex hormones rebalance. Growth hormone deepens repair. None of this is visible. None of it is immediate. But all of it